Today, we will be looking at the official CELPIP marking criteria from their website. This tells you exactly what you need to do to impress the examiner to score 12 points in your speaking exam, accompanied by tips and tricks from yours truly. Let's get started. The first thing they mention in their marking scheme is using the right content and coherence. They say communicate in demanding, non-routine situations for a full range of purposes, intentions, and objectives. What does all that mean? Well, first of all, you want to make sure you understand these non-routine demanding situations. You want to go through the best mock tests in the best course online for CELPIP. Use HZad Education's mock tests that go through all these situations and more. The link is in the description, so is the product. Once you practice through these situations, you will be ready for what you may face in the real exam. So that's the first thing. The next thing is understanding formal and informal situations. If you're talking to friends or family, you want to use casual words like, hey, what's up? How's it going? When it comes to formal situations, in speaking questions, when you're talking to your boss, for example, you want to use words like, I'm looking forward to, or please consider this. It would be appreciated if. Using appropriate tone is important for the right content marks. Similarly, using correct emotions. In part 1, you're talking to friends usually. You want to use casual language. But in part 6, you're apologizing many times. There it's important to say stuff like, I truly apologize, I'm extremely embarrassed because, and so on. So making it appropriate to the situation is important. Similarly, the emphasis is key. If I say, I am truly sorry, versus me saying, I am truly sorry, the second sentence scores more marks because there's more emphasis. You need to get the right emphasis to get the mark here for the appropriate content and use. The next thing is about vocabulary. So here, the marking scheme says to score a 12, you need a very broad range of concrete and abstract language. Use a broad range of figures of speech and idioms. Let's see what that really means and what you have to do. The first thing you can do to use a broad range is to use complex sentences. Complex sentences break down a sentence into two parts. Here are some good examples on how you can start your complex sentences. Use words like given that, due to, since, although, considering, and based on. For example, I can say, although the market prices right now are not favorable, I still will buy a house. Now here I have 2 points. 1, market prices are not good. 2, I'll still buy a house. This is a complex sentence, and the more I use complex sentences, the better it's going to get. But also keep a mixture of complex and simple sentences, not just one of the two. Now, you also want to use active and passive voices. Here I see students just use active, and you don't want to just do that. Use a combination for a broad range, just like the examiner marking criteria has asked you to do. Next thing is using advanced terms. Now, using advanced, unique words and phrases is really going to help you score a good mark here, not using basic words. So if you want to say something like good, try saying magnificent, terrific, or extremely awesome, depending on the tone. And you can use advanced words to your advantage to get an edge from other students who will be using basic words and not a broad range. The last thing is in writing, you want to use semicolons and commas more effectively because a lot of times people ignore semicolons, which is why a lot of writings are basic. Semicolons are for advanced users, and if you use them effectively, you show the examiner your writing level is higher than others. Also, use commas wherever you pause. Missing commas is a major mistake, and academic users use commas correctly and appropriately. Basically, wherever you pause, use a comma, and that's going to give you marks for advanced punctuation in writing. Let's look at listenability. Here, we're talking about using very good control and a very broad range of complex and diverse grammatical structures. Let's see what that means in practice. You want to use multiple connectors here. When we're talking about using a very good control and a broad range of sentences, phrases, words, you don't want to just stick to words like and but. Increase that range to stuff like furthermore, likewise, moreover. Also, use phrases for connectors. On the other hand, on top of that, due to that, and so on. Using multiple connectors gives you marks for the broad range that they're asking again here. Use also things that I explained in the previous slide. So this mark about listenability is very similar to what they're asking for in the vocabulary criteria. And again, you want to use complex words, complex sentences, advanced terms. The next thing is avoiding repetitions. Look, if you said in one place, you said however, the next place you want to use words like nonetheless, nevertheless. If you said because in one place, in the next sentence, you want to use since or due to. So make sure to avoid repetitions and keep giving the examiner a variety, I should say. Give them a good range and avoid using the same words and phrases again and again. The last thing here in this slide is using adverbs and adjectives either together or separately, but these are the things that are missing mostly. So adverbs are quickly, slowly, nicely, things with lease, and adjectives are qualities, magnificent, terrific, detrimental, terrible. Use these because most people just use nouns and verbs, but the more adjectives and adverbs you use, the better your mark will be. The next thing, again, is about listenability. Another clause here asks you to speak intelligibly with fluent rhythm, pronunciation, and intonation. What this means here is you want to just speak clearly, but there's more to it. So one thing you want to do to control that mark is to control your pace. A lot of people speak at a very fast pace, and sometimes people speak very slowly. There's nothing wrong with speaking slowly, but the time is running out, which means you will have less content. Make sure to speak at a reasonable pace, which is natural. It doesn't seem that you're rushing, and it doesn't seem that you're a sloth, moving too slow. Also, make sure there are pauses between your sentences. Take a 1-second breath between sentences, especially when you're going from one major point to another major point. Shows confidence, gives you marks for tone, and helps the listenability. The next thing is avoiding fillers like like, and you know. Avoid filler words like that. Instead, just pause. It really helps the examiner listen you better. Next is having a natural tone. Don't be robotic. Don't think it's an exam. Think as if you're talking to a real person, and that'll help the examiner understand you a little bit better and, of course, give you more marks. The other thing is volume fluctuation. Whenever you have points, for example, adjectives, increase your volume. Whenever you're changing the sentence, increase your volume. For example, I'm going to say that this person is extremely lucky. Here it's an adjective, so I'm increasing my volume. Similarly, as soon as I change the sentence, I'm going to say, furthermore, he is, and then normal pace. But when I say furthermore, volume increases. Remember that. Whenever you change sentences, volume has to increase, and towards the end of the sentence, it naturally decreases. Make sure to practice these for listenability. The next thing is task fulfillment. Let's look at what the examiner is asking us here. Adapt my language to the situation, my desired purposes, and my relationships to listeners. Precisely communicate my ideas to others when I speak. So keep that in mind as we move on to the strategy for that. One thing again here is be tone appropriate, which is what I've covered in multiple slides by now. This is something that gives you marks in different marking criteria. So if it's informal, formal, make sure it's appropriate to the situation. The next thing is imagine a real life conversation. A lot of students ask me, I don't have enough preparation time, I can't think of points. And I say, do you think of points when you're talking to a real person? You don't, right? So imagine just talking to a real person and points come naturally. Likewise, the content, the emphasis, everything flows naturally. The other thing is assume a phone call or a face-to-face conversation on every topic that you talk on. Because sometimes, for part 8, for example, when it says, tell this person about the scene you're visualizing, well, in that case, I'm going to probably assume that I'm calling that person or leaving a voice message. So I can use words like, hey, I just wanted to call you and tell you about this thing I'm observing. So here it gives me the right intro, probably will give me the right conclusion, or if I'm face-to-face, I could make something similar to that. So having the situation clear in my mind helps me communicate that better and use the appropriate wordings. The final thing is using realism. This is what probably 10% of CELPIP candidates do. And this is where if you're giving a suggestion, for example, in part 1, you're telling someone, hey, you should work out, insert some realism. You can say stuff like, hey, the gym that's close to you, it's just 5 minutes away. Why don't you join it? It's right now at a promotion for 7 days. You can register at a good price and it's conveniently located close to your home. That will help you in your workout goals. Here, it looks like I know this person. And that's what I'm pretending to be. I'm pretending to be this friend who knows this person giving this advice. Adding this element of realism in all your speaking parts wherever you can gives you more marks and again fits the marking criteria. That's it for today's lesson, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below if you have any questions or if you need a free speaking assessment. If you're curious how that works, comment down below and I'll contact you telling you how you can avail that. Thank you and take care.